So the next issue that officers want to raise with the governing body is to do with the panel's recommendation that an area outside of the Cleveland village, which is known in the report as Cleveland Waterways, be changed. So they're recommending that the underlying zoning be changed from rural coastal to rural settlement, neighbourhood centre and informal recreation, and a new precinct. That would provide for a community of around 400 to 600 new dwellings in an area that it sits outside any existing coastal or rural village. The issues that the staff have raised in terms of recommending that this should be rejected is that it enables development in areas where there's significant iwi issues and which is subject to a deed or settlement between Ngātai and the Crown. It also recommends that the issue is about rezoning land within the rural coastal area in a way that introduces significant urban development, which officers feel does not give effect to the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement. And also in terms of our landscape experts, they are concerned about the impact of a substantial urban development in the coastal edge of the site and impacting on the natural character of the site. So it's approximately 300 dwellings, not the thing I said. They are also concerned about the impact on water quality issues. So officers are recommending that you reject the proposal to provide a precinct called Cleveland Waterways with the underlying zoning of rural settlement, neighbourhood settlement, centre and informal recreation.
Okay, do we have a mover and seconder? Councillor Chris. I'll actually second that. And do you mind if I speak for a start? Councillors, there were very few real surprises that came through from the IHP, to the extent that a lot of it you could have seen one way or another as to how they were going if you were listening to the directions that were being given. But this one at a local level was certainly a bit of a surprise. Anyone who's slightly interested in issues of stormwater management will recognise how low this is. We're actually doing significant small village development in and around Cleveland already, and dealing with the issues of wastewater, stormwater. This has been a very, very long debate, and I think that we should maintain the position that says that this is a hugely difficult piece of land to actually manage stormwater-wise, and we will have difficulties with it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is there is a significant and outstanding and continuing issue there with Ngātai, but I want to in particular highlight the fact that given what we've got in the rest of our developmental opportunities in the south, we do not need to be pushing the boundaries out on this issue. You know, this has been hugely well traversed. I had some real concerns about some of our potential developments, and in particular Drury, with regard to stormwater management, and I think this one will pale into insignificance. So the beautiful little township of Cleveland is getting a little bit of a makeover at the moment, but that should be more to the west than to the east. So I actually think the officers have got it right. They've also reflected strongly on the history of this discussion and debate, and I would be supportive of their general direction. Councillor Chris, anything you got to add?
No, I think you've covered it pretty well, other than emphasising the treaty settlement intertwining here with Ngātai. And I think the Office of Treaty Settlements would probably be on our side. I probably shouldn't say that really, but in erring on the side of caution and allowing a fair process for the Crown to negotiate with Ngātai on the settlement in this area. There's overlaps here that could prove quite dangerous. And who knows, this might go to appeal, and by that time, those treaty settlement issues will have been progressed and we'll know more. But at this time, we don't, and the cultural implications are quite significant.
Councillor Bill?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And you know the history of this particular development. It's been on again, off again for many, many years, probably 20, I think. And Councillor Quacks would be able to affirm that, because he was on Manukau at the time it was passed. Turned down at the Environment Court, I believe, because it was contrary to the regional council's MUL strategies at the time. So the hearings panel have heard all the evidence, and I'm a little bit ambivalent about this particular one, because it has to go yet through a whole raft of very difficult tests, including iwi, engineering, stormwater. So the panel must have passed it for a very good reason to let it face those tests.
Yep.
And I'm a little bit of the principle, actually, that in this particular area, as you said at the beginning, Mr. Mayor, the panel has done its work. It's listened to all the submitters, both for and against, which we haven't, but it has, and it's made its decisions based upon that. So in this particular instance, although it might be problematic for me trebly, because this particular development has split the community in the past, but on principle, I think it needs to be able to face those tests.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Mike?
I'll just make the point, Mr. Mayor, that there's a lot more to this than treaty settlements, important as they are, and the sensitivity of mana whenua, Ngāi Tai, important as it is. The community itself, the Pākehā community, if you will, are also very, very concerned and have been about this. And as Councillor Cashmore has said, it's been very divisive on the community. Do we need to do that again? It's all very well to say let's have the test and all the rest of it. That means the community has to go back to court, raise an enormous amount of money. It's very, very destructive of their well-being and harmony. And I think that we should respect the original notified plan, which was informed by the Environment Court decision, which the panel seems to feel it can overrule, and retain what was in the notified plan for very, very good environmental and social reasons.
Okay, that's good. Councillor George?
Well, Mr. Chair, I think, that we can only judge this on what has come from the panel, the independent hearings panel. I've heard other extraneous history which has been introduced here this morning, which I don't think is relevant. It's what has been heard with the panel. That group has heard this. It's given a comprehensive assessment of the Clevedon Waterways precinct, and I don't think that the council now, at this 11th hour, should be relitigating with the scant kind of issues and factors that are being introduced by other members around the table. So I'm not going to support this comment to reject. I'm going to vote against this at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor, there you go.
Just for clarification, the whole history that a number of parties have talked about was well canvassed in front of the hearings panel. You are allowed to consider anything that was in front of the hearings panel at the hearings and in submissions. So none of what is discussed here is new information that the panel was not aware of in their recommendations.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Right, any other comments? Okay, we put it. All those in favour say aye. Division. Right, just hang on.
Division councillors, you're voting on D on the screen.
Yep.
Your Worship.
Aye.
Councillor Brewer.
No.
Councillor Casey.
Yes.
Councillor Cashmore.
No.
Councillor Clow.
No.
Councillor Cooper.
No.
Councillor Darby.
For.
Councillor Fletcher.
No.
Deputy Mayor Hulse.
Aye.
Councillor Crum.
Against.
Councillor Lee.
Aye.
Councillor Penrose.
No.
Councillor Quacks.
No.
Councillor Sir John Walker.
Or,
Councillor Wayne Walker.
Yes.
Councillor Watson.
or,
Councillor Webster.
No.
Councillor Wood.
no.
So that's lost 10-8.
Very good decision.
Right, now move on to, Kathy, you've got something.
Yes.
I'd like councillors to look at the Mangere Gateway Precinct, which is in our folders here at 422, our page 64, Annexure 3. Because just to settle Councillor George first off, that the information that went before the independent hearings panel that I'm about to talk about has been before them, so I'm not introducing anything new. So if you look at our page, if you look at that annexure, you'll see that within the Mangere Gateway Precinct, we have significant characteristics including Maori cultural associations with the area, including Wahitapu, heritage and historic associations, the adjoining Otuatawa stonefields, which I'll come to, volcanic cone slopes and lava caves, and landscape and amenity values. So I am talking directly to information before the panel. And I do have a plea to my colleagues, and that is with regard to this precinct, that we add an extra layer of protection to the land around Otuatawa Stonefields, which is zoned future urban. So I'm not challenging the zoning. It's been through the Environment Court, it's been through the Independent Hearings Panel, it's now back before us. But if I can put my proposal up on the screen, I'll talk to it. Everybody around this table knows the land in question. Dave Veert, who's on the Heritage Advisory Panel, said building next to Otuatawa Stonefields is like building next to Stonehenge. The land in question that's been zoned future urban surrounds Otuatawa Stonefields. We are the same council that's making up an application to to have World Heritage status for our volcanic fields and our volcanoes. Otuatawa Stonefields will be part of that. What this does is give another level of protection that's not currently there in this Mangere Gateway Precinct exposé. And that's all it is. It's acknowledging that, well, for me, designating it an SHA was in error by this council. We tried to fix it. It's still there. That's fine. Well, it's not fine, but it's still there. So it's about looking to the future. We've got this zoning. The Independent Hearings Panel have said yes to the council's position. And that leaves the people of Ihumātao facing subdivision and development all around this special place. And I think the least we can do is just make it a function of any future structure planning that the significant cultural values of the area are addressed. So that's very clear, and it's our position. And it doesn't detract from anything the IHP's done, but it actually says we acknowledge this special area. So I don't think I've got anything more to say. I've got a seconder from Councillor Clow.
So thank you. Councillor Kathy had quick direction to me on this as I was coming in. I had a chance to have a bit of a chat with Penny Pirrett, and this is a direction to the staff. It doesn't detract from the plan, doesn't add or amend the plan. It's for future reference. It doesn't therefore contravene the view that I have that we need to just move forward with what we've received. So I don't feel that we're compromised in not supporting this. It's not an unreasonable thing. The Mangere Gateway area is an area of high cultural significance. So, councillors, I'd encourage you to accept this as a direction rather than a change to the plan. Bill.
Accept that it's a direction, Mr Mayor, but just if I could have an interpretation from John or Penny about must address the significant cultural values of the area rather than take into consideration, how does that affect the actual potential?
Yeah, right.
So in terms of the structure planning requirements that are set out in attachment or appendix 1 to the recommended version of the unitary plan, you do need to consider and take into account significant cultural values. The word address, I think, is similar. It's not saying you must put in rules. It's saying when you're doing the structure planning, you need to be aware of those cultural values of the area, and whatever structure plan that you develop needs to ensure that they're not, significantly impacted, but it's not requiring rules per se.